So what's the secret sauce at TAV? What makes you better than the others?
The management.
Okay. But,
Who else? No, I'm kidding. Our strength is that we are this airport in a box. Meeting all the needs and requests of the airlines and passengers at one stop. That's a strength.
All right, welcome to another episode of Year in Business. I'm delighted to say that we're joined by Burcu Geriş. She is the Deputy CEO and CFO at TAV. Very good day to you, and thanks for making it.
Thank you, Yusuf. I'm so happy to be here.
I'm trying to understand what your morning routine looks like. And some of the debates we've had with guests is, tea or coffee. I don't think there's much of a debate for you there. How do you like your Turkish coffee in the morning?
No sugar. Avoiding sugar.
Okay.
Yes. So Turkish coffee is the best. I mean, some marketing here, but you can have all types of it with medium sugar, no sugar, lots of sugar. I have it, as we say in Turkish, sade, which means no sugar.
Here's the thing. So apparently Turkish coffee creates friendships that last 40 years.
40
That's
years.
The saying.
Exactly.
So can you tell me more about why 40 and what happens after the friendships break?
Well, hopefully it's not limited to 40. I mean, it's a saying that, because the Turkish coffee always goes with the nice friendly chats in the morning or in the afternoon, right after lunch. So it deepens the conversations, and the 40 years is just a saying, but hopefully it goes for a lifetime.
So how do you start your day then? I mean, you have one Turkish coffee. At what time do you get up? Can you just run us through what your routine's like?
Yeah, so I get up, let's say 7 something. I mean, depends on how what time I went to bed. I try to get a full 8 hours, but I never managed to get the 8 hours because I'm always past midnight. I'm kind of like a night bird, but 7-ish. And then I do all my skincare and everything. And then I'm at work with my coffee and with the screens and right into work.
So do you work out in the morning? Because I sort of look at what Andrew Huberman says, and he says you got to get your sunshine and your cold shower and your workout in sort of the first part of the day.
I cannot.
I'd like to say that I have been successful in doing that, but it's just impossible. I'm the kind of guy, I get out of bed, and these days one of the first things I do is, I check my email, which isn't good.
No, it's not good. It's a habit. It's a very bad habit. And it's even kind of like a bad influence on you to have any appliances next to your bed. It's an addiction. In fact, we shouldn't have it, but I have it as well. So I think all of us have this addiction to our devices, which shouldn't be the case. In terms of workout, I do it in the evening. Because just my preparation and everything would take too much time. So I do it in the evening after work.
And is it a HIIT workout, or is it I do
a lot of strength.
Just a little bit of cardio?
Strength workout.
I look at your Instagram, it's just pretty hardcore what's going on there.
Yeah. I do some strength training because it's, good for the posture and the muscles. And then I do a bit of cardio and step as well.
All right, let's talk about what's happening with TAV, one of the top listed companies in Turkey. You employ 35,000 people. You manage over 15 airports. You've got access to so much data for our global audience. Can you just give us a bit of an understanding of what's happening with traffic flows today? How are passengers moving around the world?
Yes. It's such an exciting industry to be in. Unfortunately, during COVID, it was still exciting, but not in a good way. So we suffered a lot. All the aviation and tourism sector suffered a lot, but we came out of it even stronger. So, this revenge travel, revenge shopping of everyone, we come to life once, we live only once. That benefited all the airlines and the airports and the hotels and the tourism agencies. Obviously, people continue traveling despite any, of course, here and there can be some geopolitical issues or some economical downturns from, country to country, from region to region. But overall, we can say, especially in the market we operate, we are totally back from the COVID. So we have surpassed our 2019 numbers by far. The airports, if you look at the airports, the leisure traffic has come back faster. The business, and this was expected because business traffic, you don't have to travel always. The Teams and the Zoom and all the video calls have done the work. It didn't finish the business travel as some thought, but the business travel didn't come back as fast as leisure traffic. And if you look at long haul versus short haul, the short haul came faster. The domestic also faster. So we can see that there are some asymmetries around the world from region to region. Emerging markets, leisure traffic, the beaches, they came back much faster. Our airports, we operate Antalya Airport, which is it is the biggest tourism destination in the Mediterranean basin. It's now 40 million passengers.
Wow,
so it's huge. And this is despite the Russian-Ukraine conflict, because we lost a lot of Russian passengers due to the conflict. Okay. Despite that loss, the European passengers doubled. The UK passengers doubled.
Those are some staggering numbers. Just help me as well get a sense of what is going on with competition with other major hubs like Dubai, because you're serving passengers who are moving east to west, right? South to north. And in many ways, you probably have Dubai on your radar week in, week out in terms of how to stay ahead or how to offer something more differentiated. Can you describe how that competition is playing out?
Yeah, sure. I think maybe this is a more valid question for my colleagues at Istanbul Airport, because we don't operate Istanbul Airport anymore. We do have some operations like the food and beverage due to free ground handling at Istanbul Airport. However, we are not operators. The airports we operate are mostly origin and destination airports. So these are more touristic destinations. They're not hubs. So we don't compete directly with Dubai or other hubs in that sense. However, for your question regarding Istanbul, definitely Istanbul would be in competition with Dubai and all the other major hubs in the region. So there's a big competition to do that.
When I look at the top stock chart over the last 6 years, I mean, that's just an eye-wateringly positive move to the upside.
Yes.
But a lot of it has to do with the currency that lost a lot of its value. How concerned are you about the Turkish lira going forward, given that we've had a series of currency crashes over the last 10 years that's also making a lot of the Turks get very, very nervous about the road ahead?
Yeah. Well, if you look at the last year and also the year ahead, the Turkish lira has been quite stable. I mean, let's knock on wood. We have come through a kind of extraordinary period regarding monetary policy. I don't want to get into too much detail, but we had some very high inflation, I would even say hyperinflation, and very high interest rates as well. So we are currently in the mode of fixing this. So our inflation rates have seen this, 80% levels, even more. Now we're down to 44. I know for some audience, this may still sound very high. It is very high, but we are on the right track as a country to reduce this inflation back to its levels where it was a single digit in the past. So for next year, it will be 25% in line with this monetary policy and also the abundance of FX reserves. There is not a lot of pressure on TL to get devaluated, to tell you the truth. So we are now expecting, and many of the investment banks would agree, that a more stable Turkish lira towards the end of the year, in line, the depreciation to be in line with inflation, even Turkish lira getting more valuable towards the end of the year.
Okay, I take your point. In terms of the footprint that TAV has, it ranges from Kazakhstan to Saudi Arabia. Which markets are the priority for you going forward? Where do you think you can really deliver something?
We are always after growth, as a lot of people are, but really our kind of DNA is growth and potential. So we start out small. We start out in some places, maybe not everyone wants to invest. So when we invested in Georgia, in Tbilisi and Batumi airports, it wasn't on many people's radar. I mean, it was a really small airport, 500,000 passengers, and it grew out to be 5 million. So we can see exponential growth there. Same with Almaty. When we invested in Almaty, it was during COVID. So people were asking us, are you crazy investing in aviation during COVID? And we said, don't worry, it will come back. So for us, growth potential is very important. It's very critical in terms of our strategy. The geographical proximity is also important. We are more focused on the EMEA region, which is around Turkey. So it includes the CIS, the STAN countries, even some selectively Africa, Eastern Europe, and Turkey is our base, as you know, and we operate 5 airports in Turkey. It's a big tourism destination. So we will continue to be around this region, selectively looking globally at any other opportunities. Of course, we don't close the door to anything. We are always an aviation company, an airports company, and we will be looking after opportunities.
I just returned from Riyadh, from some of the events there, and speaking to investors on the ground. The question is really who's not there, and it's sort of fierce competition for projects. I'm wondering, as a foreign investor who has a track record in Saudi Arabia, how do you approach doing business there? What are your experiences? If you had a message to authorities, what would it be to maybe streamline things a little bit further and be able to, build even more momentum?
Yeah. So we're very happy with our investment in Medina Airport together with our partner Al Rajhi. We've been there since 2010. We've seen the airport grow now to over 10 million passengers, 11 million passengers. It also started growing by a much smaller base. And we are very happy to see the kingdom's 2030 vision about aviation, very high stakes. We are very much in line, but the PPP scheme worked very well in Medina. So I think to replicate this into other airports in the kingdom is the idea. It just needs to be, feasible and bankable. So all these airports development, for it to make sense to private investors together with the public, the PPP scheme, it needs to have the certain risk mitigation factors and also the feasibility, the bankability factors. As long as it does, then, sky is the limit for Saudi airports.
It sounds like you're putting into question some of the projects that are being discussed, right? In terms of maybe the longer term sustainability, right? In terms of being able to continue to be profitable and create something that is going to be sustainable in the long term. Is that the core issue? Because that's also what the Saudi government's been very clear about, is they're looking at a lot of these projects and they're like, you know what? Maybe it doesn't make sense with that timeline or that financing plan or, that kind of capital structure, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. it needs to be sustainable. I'm sure the kingdom is looking at it in that way, that it will make sense for the kingdom and the investors. So it is an ecosystem. So there can be no one winner. The idea is to develop the aviation and the transportation lines and create the potential and enhance these airports. And there will be, I'm sure, in the longer term demand, but it's important to forecast how fast or slow this demand would come and what could be done to enhance this demand as well.
Where else in the Middle East do you want to grow and do you see a lot of potential?
Good question. We are also bidding for Kuwait Airport, T2, T4. And this is an O&M, operation and maintenance contract. So the Kuwait airports are there. Other than that, we don't have anything concrete currently we're working on. We have couple of Saudi airports we're working. We'll see, we are on the watch to see whatever comes up. Definitely, we're open. I don't know, Egypt, Morocco, anything in the region. If it comes up, when it comes up, we'll be looking at it.
Here's something I've been meaning to ask you for a very, very long time. And that is, how do you pitch sort of airport operations? You send an email with the proposal. It's like, hey, sign me over, Cairo airport for 15 years. And, we do well. check my reviews on Google. Obviously, it doesn't work that way, right? But actually, how does it work?
Yeah. Actually, usually, I mean, not all the time. I think I would say it's the government who initiate this process. So we can do as private investors, we can do some lobbying, some education to show how PPP helps with the government. But it is the government decision to privatize airports and to go for tenders. And when they start a process, they go public as an airport tender, and they have some specifications where they list these specifications on who can bid for that specific airport or concession. And then we always have usually the credentials and we bid for that.
So what's the secret sauce at TAV? What makes you better than the others?
The management.
Okay. But,
who else? No, I'm kidding.
So management's one, but like in terms of what the passengers like when you're trying to get through the airport, you know how is it different? I know you have a very unique signage. I can tell when I'm at a TAV airport. I can tell from the fonts and sort of the, you know, there's certain signs, and I like that because it's like the branding, right?
Yes. So I think our strength is that we are this airport in a box, which was kind of a story or image we had in our heads when we went public. That was our equity story. So we have all these companies in the group which take the passenger from one end to the other, like a seamless journey, taking care of the food and beverage, the duty-free shopping, the transfers, the lounges, the security, the software, or, you know, meeting all the needs and requests of the airlines and passengers at one stop. And we are a single company, single group, thinking about all of that and having all these companies under one roof. So we can see this journey from one end to another. That's the strength.
You've been CFO for many, many years. And so
yes.
You know the kind of financial pressures that the airport management firms are exposed to, you know, be it tight margins, balancing revenues from other airlines, passengers, retail concessions, and substantial operating costs. Do you sometimes think I picked the wrong industry to be in?
No, never. I'm very happy. I found my ikigai. I love it. No, I mean, every job has its, you know, ups and downs and, you know, tight struggles. It's the name of the game. It's normal. I think it's good to have these challenges and problems and find solutions to those problems. It just drives you to be better and better. And to find different solutions to the same problems, to think differently, to think really out of the box. In terms of managing costs, you know, what you did 5 years ago may not work right now in terms of outsourcing, insourcing decisions, in terms of digitalization, how you use AI, how you use new technologies. This makes a lot of difference. And it's just drives you to think more and to do better. So I like it.
I mean, speaking of new innovations, what's the company's position on cryptocurrencies?
We don't invest. We are quite conservative on our investment strategy.
What about accepting payment with cryptocurrencies? Is that something you've looked at, or is an absolute no-go at the moment?
I mean, I would say we are a bit conservative for that. You know, at the end of the day, our majority shareholder is Group ADP, which is, you know, partly government, French government. And we are not there yet, I think. I'm not saying it will never happen, but we are not there yet.
What about the new administration of Donald Trump? It's causing sort of a massive ripple effect across the globe, and there is no industry or company that is not going to be affected in some way or another. I'm wondering what your initial reaction is today. Obviously, still early days.
Yes.
Do you think it's going to reach the shores of Turkey and TAV specifically? What are you thinking about today?
Well, even the euro dollar is, you know, so important for us when making our budget and, you know, forecasting our financials. You know, having a 1 or a 110 or a 105 makes a huge difference because we have dollar denominated geographies like Almaty and Georgia. We have euro denominated currencies, and our functional currency is in euros. So it makes a lot of difference. So we are always testing new scenarios. What if euro dollar is 105? What if euro dollar is 110? It makes a huge difference. So we are sitting on the rim of our chairs as waiting to see the first 100 days or even the rest of the year with Trump. And also Monday, we saw some, federal spending cuts. Today, there's the Fed's meeting. Tomorrow, there's ECB. So we're following all of it very closely for our, budgeting forecasting purposes, for our financing, for the new projects, our cost of financing. Everything is, tied to each other. So let's see. I hope it all works the best for everyone.
So would you say that you're broadly positive then on what's going to come from the new U.S. administration? Cautious or negative even?
Cautious, I would say. Cautious, like a wait and see position, keeping fingers crossed that it won't be too negative, but just really not knowing yet the exact results.
I mean, outside of your CFO and deputy CEO tasks, you're also very passionate about fashion. I'm wondering, where that came from and, what inspired you to continue to pursue that line of, interest, really.
Yeah. I guess every woman is kind of interested in passion one way or another. Mine is a bit maybe too much. I've always been like that since, high school, university years, very much into it. I really like everything that is aesthetic. So it can be interior decoration, fashion, architecture, everything aesthetic. And I also like everything analytical. So I'm kind of a mix between analytics and aesthetics. I find balance in life, and this is kind of balancing my hard side with all the numbers and data crunching. And this is my soft side, which kind of lets me kind of wind off and just relax. A couple of things I really liked to take the pressure off all the hard stuff.
I mean, you've grown a very large following on Instagram as a result of that. I'm wondering who your favorite designer is.
Oh, good question. I have so many, really. I have so many, but what I like is I really like to find unknown, like not big fashion designers, but unknown boutiques and very small designers, local designers wherever I go. So I'm not into too much. I won't say any names or designer names. I'm not a big fan of any single one. I like them all. I follow, but I'm not a fashion follower or fashion, I don't want to say victim, but I don't follow it by heart. I try to have a style. I stick to my style and I just find whatever sticks to that style.
It sounds to me like you're trying to give a diplomatic answer and basically, telling the brands out there that they're not going to get a free endorsement from you.
Of course, nothing is free in life.
But in terms of maybe your own fashion line, would you consider that?
I don't know, but I never thought about it. Thank you. You give me a business idea now. Why not? Why not? Maybe.
Okay. Now, in terms of the other accolades in your career, you're a WEF Young Global Leader. What kind of perks come with that? I mean, you got picked for that in 2015. What would you say was the big benefit from that? Those who are, not into the day-to-day, WEF dynamics, as it were?
So it helped open the doors to a new network, which is a really nice network. So I got to meet people from all around the world, very smart people in their areas, academicians, sports people, businessmen, women, entrepreneurs, so many diverse areas and so many diverse geographies. So that was great to make so many friends. And I traveled some to meet them. We had some summits for the young global leaders. I went to Davos. I saw the atmosphere in Davos. It's a good experience. I mean, I think it's a bit overrated to say, we're there to change the world. I mean, I think it's too much pressure. We cannot change the world probably by ourselves, but it's a good group of people.
In terms of, where you live today, you spend a lot of time in Istanbul with your family. I'm wondering if you weren't living in Istanbul, where would you be?
Well, I like New York a lot. I mean, I had my MBA at Columbia, and since then, I really fell in love with the city. So I think if I wasn't living in Istanbul, I really like New York.
You don't
New York
think
City.
it's a very busy place, New York? I think it's a little bit overwhelming at times.
It is,
I would
but
prefer Istanbul any day of the week.
Istanbul is as well. So both of them, I think they're very similar. I feel like they have a lot of similarities. But for some reason, I really like New York. I like London as well, but the weather is not so great in London.
Exactly. I mean, do you know that Istanbul is the city I've been to the most in my life for some strange reason? So I've been there maybe 21, 22 times in the last 10 years.
Well, it is the best city.
A lot of it for political reasons or economic reasons. So there's, from crisis to crisis. On one occasion, the crash of the lira. And I remember I was covering the story from Istanbul. I was at Bloomberg at the time. And there was somebody in civilian clothing came up and he's like, look, you guys got to shut down and you got to leave because we cannot guarantee your security. The Turkish government was very upset with the kind of headlines that were coming out in terms of, what the central bank is thinking and might be doing. So I was like holding my breath. I was like, rushing to the airport, catching the flight. First time I shared
exciting
that. So,
times.
yes, it was. It's a lot of pressure, that's for sure.
Yes.
But in terms of your experience growing up in Istanbul, is that where you spent the early part of your life? Is that where most of your memories are?
No, not really. I was a military brat. Really, we traveled all around the world. All around the world, all around Turkey, and also some abroad as well. So I started out in Istanbul, then moved to Izmit, then to Ankara, then to Belgium, then to Izmir. So we traveled a lot. I changed 8 schools and 8 houses by the time I was in college.
That's incredible. What's the most important career insight that you picked up along the way?
Adaptability is so important. And that's what I caught, I think, in my early years of life, adapting to every circumstance. So, trying to make friends and, fit in, but not losing myself, but still fit in and be adaptable and flexible. That's an important trait I think I picked up early ages, and that helped me a lot because, changing 8 schools could be seen as traumatic, even that, you just keep changing places. And then if you feel like it's a disadvantage for you, it would work out as a disadvantage. But I always thought of it as an advantage and try to use it to my advantage. And then for career, again, I have a couple of mottos, which I like.
I'd love to hear them. Tell me.
Yeah, I like to work hard, play hard. That's what I like, which I do as well. And the balance is so important. The mental, the mind, soul, heart balance, the physical balance, all of it has to balance. And, if you have one side just overpowering the other, then it's an imbalance of the person, and it just takes out to be really bad results at the end. And I really believe in not feeling guilty for the decisions we make, for the choices we make. So we make some choices, we go straight ahead, no regrets, no guilt. And that helps a lot, I think, with our minds as well. And I believe in this Japanese strategy of ikigai, where you find your ikigai, where you do something you love, you're good at, you make money, and you're good also for the world and for the community. Hopefully I try to find that. So these are my, and also be tough with the problem, be nice with the people. That's the one I like.
Yeah, I'm still hoping that this new show here is going to be, the one that transforms and checks all the boxes according to the paradigm that you just laid out.
I hope it does.
You've been with TAV for over a decade, probably also close to 2 decades.
20 years, exactly, 2 decades.
20 years. So, what's the secret to, that kind of long tenure? Because let's be real, this is not the average sort of career stint, right? Especially these days. Do you credit that to your sort of spirit and approach, or is it more also a reflection of TAV and how they approach these things relative to others in Turkey or the industry?
Yes, very good question. I don't know the exact answer. Really, I think it's a combination of all of the things you mentioned. When I started out, I had no idea I would end up 20 years. In fact, I didn't even know what TAV does. It was such a small company when I started. It was operating only Istanbul Airport, only. And I was a banker. I worked 6 years at a bank. I was doing project finance, treasury, big bank, really big bank. And then when I started TAV, it was an adventure for me. So I had no idea what was in the store for me. And I said, I'll just try it. If I don't like it, I'll quit. And this was 20 years ago. And then it was just never a boring minutes for us. Always constant change, constant development, constant progress. We went public in 2007, and then we had a shareholding change. We were always bidding for new projects, getting new airports. Then we issued a bond. Everything is moving, and it's also exciting sector to be in, exciting industry. So I don't know. I think it all fits out. I never planned it out this way. I never planned out to be a CFO in the first place. I was more into, brands, management, marketing, passion, etc. I thought I would end up there, but I ended up being a CFO, which was really good for me because I love numbers and I love people, and CFO is a good combination of both.
Okay, so why don't you wear your CFO hat for us for a second? So just in terms of the people that approach you probably and ask you for investment advice, right? And I'm going to try and ask you, if somebody had $100,000 or $1 million, whatever the amount is to deploy today, what would you tell them? Maybe not obviously specific stocks. I wouldn't expect you to do that. But maybe
I cannot do that. Yeah. Otherwise, Capital Market Board would kind of get me.
Fair enough. But I'm still going to try, maybe you have, a bit of advice on investment in general. And if you can't, also totally respect that and understand, that there are clear guidelines, because at the end of the day, you do represent TAV in so many ways. But still, to those who do ask, what should I do with my extra cash? What would you tell them?
I cannot give investment advice, but what I've been hearing and listening from the economists, which I agree, the ones who give advice that I agree, I can repeat their advice, but this is not my personal advice, but I kind of agree with that, is to have a kind of a basket, because now interest rates is on the way to reduce. How fast, how slow, we'll see, because first it was meant to be cut faster. Now it looks like it's going to be slower. As the interest rates get reduced, the valuations of the stocks will increase. So I guess some portion should be there for equity markets. Depending on the risk averseness of the person, obviously. And then there are always this, in Turkey, it's a different game because we have Turkish lira deposit rates, which are very high in interest. So I think if it was a Turkish investor, definitely to have some money market funds and deposits, some, real money there. And then real estate, for those who are into following the real estate opportunities, some could be that. It depends so much on the person's risk averseness or risk appetite. So I cannot give one single formula, but it's always, I think, good to have a basket and not just to put all the eggs in the same basket, and to have some equity, some deposits, some real estate, and just have a diverse, and then just watch what's happening in the world to change your position at the right time. Usually we are too late to change our position. We do after things happen, but just be on the watch.
Everybody's smarter in hindsight, right? Everybody held NVIDIA and they were like, you know what? You can't go wrong. Everybody was looking smart. And, more recently, with what's been happening with the new innovations coming through from AI and the disruption.
Yes.
It's a cold shower. One-day moves that we haven't seen in over a decade.
Unbelievable.
Down over 15%. One closing question on who you would have lunch with if you had the choice. Would you go, and these are people from, this new administration, would it be Elon Musk or would it be Donald Trump?
Oh, wow. Never expected that. I think Elon Musk, because I'm curious about everything he's done. I read his mother's book, which is also a very interesting lady. May Musk, I guess. So I would be interested to have lunch with him.
All right. Amazing. We'll see what we can do. I'll make the phone call after the show.
Great.
This has been so much fun and also very insightful. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Yusuf. My pleasure.
All right.
And all the best.
Thank you very much.